All
Oh,
right.
he's pointing at us.
He's pointing at us. I guess we're on.
This is go time.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, my name is Brett Musser. I am the head of content and business development here at Edge Wallet and Security Platform, and I'm joined to the left. First time we've been together, I think, on this show, by the way.
Actually, yeah, no, this is the first time for us together.
This is Alan, our superstar lead front-end developer and partnership extraordinaire, onboarding all those international exchanges onto our platform. How you doing today, Alan?
I'm doing good, man. Doing really good.
You're looking well rested.
I am.
For those of you that don't know, Alan is an avid diver and isn't in the office all the time. He's
Nope.
usually overseas,
Yep.
and to be more specific, in the sea in the Bahamas. That's
Yep.
why he has a great tan all the time.
Exactly. Got to keep the sun, you know.
When do you go back?
Fly back on Tuesday. Looking forward to getting back there
Nice.
and getting back in the ocean on Wednesday.
Nice. All right, so let's get to all the controversy. And there's a lot, always, because it's crypto.
Well, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
It's true. We'll mix the good and the bad.
So should we start off with New York bashing? Or
We should.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to bash the government a little bit. So for people that do not know, the New York Attorney General has either filed a complaint or some type of action against a very popular, well-known exchange in the cryptocurrency land. The name of the exchange is BitFinex, and BitFinex has been around since 2012. I didn't really know about them until 2015, and the New York Attorney General has basically filed a complaint saying that they covered up a loss of $850 million worth of customer funds. BitFinex has come back and said that it's completely false, and they have access to those funds. Now, a wrinkle on the story is BitFinex there's not a lot of separation between BitFinex and an entity called Tether. And Tether is a asset-backed stablecoin, one-to-one with the U.S. dollar. And the allegation is that the executives of BitFinex used Tether kind of as a central bank, a lender of last resort, to cover up an $850 million loss. Now, what comes out of that, if the Attorney General's assertion is true, that means Tether actually has the assets that they say they were. And there's a lot of critics in crypto that have said that Tether in particular doesn't hold the assets that they say they do. But if the Attorney General is right, Tether actually does have the assets because BitFinex wouldn't have been able to cover up that hole. Now, BitFinex has come back and said, this is not true, this is all false, and we have the $850 million. It's in our possession, and it's safe. So, first of all, I want people to know that this is kind of a big non-story, and I think this has really been riled up because there's not a lot to talk about right now in crypto. And I would also like to highlight that the Attorney General of New York is completely irrelevant to global crypto assets that can be sent anywhere in the world. They might be important to traditional markets, maybe they're important to Wall Street, but they really, to me, the New York Attorney General is completely irrelevant to what happens in crypto. So that's the lowdown of what's going on. The New York Attorney General has made a claim. BitFinex has said this is false, and now we have a big controversy.
Well, in looking at that, there's a few things that I'm going to kind of disagree with your premise and whatnot. So, but it comes down to, and I'm going to bring this around to your favorite guy here in a minute. New York has very specific laws in regards to crypto with things like getting the BIT license and whatnot. So in the world of, hey, how do we deal with cryptocurrencies at the government level, that's all still up in the air. And one of the other stories that I'm reading here, and that's why I said I'm going to bring it to your guy, is one of the presidential candidates, Andrew Yang, who is a pro-crypto
Yang
guy.
gang.
Yep. He's big on the Yang gang. I'm undecided. But one of the things that he's calling for is clear guidelines on crypto, which is something that this industry desperately needs. I hate the fact that it's treated as property and not money. And then, you have this issue in New York, like, okay, New York's got its own little way of dealing with it. And to be parsing all these many little fiefdoms and trying to react in the industry to these different things without clear guidelines.
A national framework. Because right now we have a patchwork of states kind of doing their own thing.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that's interesting about your guy there is the fact that the younger candidates are talking about and realize that this industry exists, where there's another headline today that's most American retirees have a negative outlook on Bitcoin, according to a new survey. And well over 70% of them don't even know, people over 55 don't know what Bitcoin is. So A, how can they have a positive outlook on it? And B, in that demographic of people that are running for office, how are they going to set up these frameworks for industries to evolve and work? So it's a big circle that comes back to New York, like dealing with this problem of an $850 million loss. Is it a cover-up? Is there a transparency issue? How does that relate to how we deal with traditional financial markets? You know, I think that's the bigger story is when you go to vote, try to find people that actually are looking towards things that are going on in the world and solving current problems instead of problems like 30, 40 years ago. So that's my only little political stump speech.
Well, who do you think is trying to solve problems 30, 40 years ago?
Well, I think our plethora of presidential candidates that are over 70 years old really are, you know, worried about still trying to figure out how to program their VCR, let alone use digital money. So, you know, again, that's it for going down the political rabbit hole, but these things are showing up in the headlines between those three that we just cited.
Well, it seems like what Yang wants to do is analogous to what happened in the 30s. So before that, equities in the United States kind of existed in a patchwork of regulatory regimes in the United States. Like each state had its own rules for equities, or I should say securities in general. And then we get FDR. First we get the stock market crash, and we get FDR as a reaction to that. And then out of that comes the SEC, which provides a national regulatory framework for securities. And I think that's what you were alluding to earlier. Andrew Yang, presidential candidate for the Democrats, is basically offering up a new, or suggesting that we need a national apparatus for crypto assets. And I would generally agree with that. But do you actually think that the New York Attorney General is actually relevant or can do anything? Like, to me, they were 80 years ago. Now, they're laughable.
Well,
like it's like a dog with there's no bite anymore. What can they do? BitFinex is headquartered in, I believe, Hong Kong or the Cayman Islands, or they have some type of corporate registration in the Cayman Islands, and they actually have headquarters in Hong Kong. What can the state attorney general do?
Well,
like I can't. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm like what really can they do? And who cares? Do you care?
Well, if you're, say, a executive at BitFinex and you end up flying through New York on a layover, and all of a sudden there's a warrant out for you because of something that goes along with this, yes, those cause problems.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the things with getting legitimate government regulation, and this goes back to something that, if you look at like offshore gambling years and years ago, well, yeah, the gaming's out of Costa Rica. What can the U.S. do about it? Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as the owners set foot on soil, boom, then you have issues.
I'm not saying BitFinex is out of the water, but I think at the end of the day, is a block going to be produced every 10 minutes by the Bitcoin blockchain? Yes. Does this affect this in any way? No, it doesn't. And people that get all bent out of shape about this, I think that's a little misplaced in terms of focus.
But we're not at the stage of the game where crypto is widespread to be used as part of daily commerce. So yes, a block still gets produced, but if I can't find an exchange to transfer my crypto to fiat because they're getting shut down and you don't have access to them in different states and things like that, like the New York Attorney General could block access to BitFinex in New York.
True.
That eliminates a possible exchange for New Yorkers, which is, it's a reasonably big state, a little bigger than Rhode Island, and
Got you.
So there's some relevance there.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, from a holistic perspective, what we care about, like, are users not going to be able to use Bitcoin now?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but it's the finer details that, okay, how do we get past this kind of silly stuff? Agreed. And I think that
and the professionalization of the industry and like appropriate global framework for what is transparency,
exactly.
What should you disclose, what's proper behavior, all that stuff needs to be worked out.
Exactly. And that's where I want to see it get to.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, more of an adult instead of the freewheeling young guy like me, right?
Well, there's nothing wrong with the freewheeling young guy thing, but part of the bad rap that crypto gets is, well, scammers, criminals, etc.
There's plenty of those.
And when you get the legitimate framework, you're going to get into where we get to the, when my generation becomes part of these most American retirees, they're going to know about it and they're going to have faith in crypto.
Okay.
And that's where we want to get to.
Well, is that that brings up another issue. Are people over the age of 55? Do they ever need crypto assets, and they ever going to really get it? And are they even is that a relevant market?
They're living longer, and I mean, I think it is a relevant market once people understand what it can be. And I've said on this show over and over again, like I look at crypto and its adoption and things like that now, comparing back to like the first Diners Club card, like what's this plastic thing that is money, and now nobody carries cash. So across that evolution, and not to date myself, but I mean 55 is not really that far away, and so I think I'm looking at it as it's definitely something that I want to be invested in now, because when 55 hits, hopefully we'll have had another couple 2017s.
Okay.
And
so you're saying key to that demographic is,
I think the people
showing like a framework, an adult framework, mature framework for, I guess, investor protections, consumer protections. You think that'll be something that helps move, I guess, the older generation into crypto assets?
Well, their financial, they're going to listen to their financial advisors. Like I don't see people, and I think 55 is a really bad age for that. Like I would say people in their mid 60s and up probably aren't gonna. When you're already retired,
like what do you need?
You've already done your planning.
What do you need Tether for?
Yeah, exactly. Where if you're 55, you're looking, hey man, if I have like 7 Bitcoins now, and it gets, while it's at $5,000, and it gets back up to 20 in 3 years, wow, that's better than I did with all of my 401k and everything else. So I think it's attractive to the almost retiring
Gotcha.
demographic.
And there's a lot of that demographic has a lot of money, a lot of capital.
We're looking at figuring like, okay, we've screwed up on our retirement plans. How do we get to where we were supposed to be? Gotcha. That's appealing with crypto for me.
Let's move on to more positive news.
Well, that actually leads into the next one that I wanted to talk about, which is the economic activity.
Okay.
Where, I mean, we've got a headline here that economic activity is now 30% higher than it was when we were at the 20K price. But our price point still, we're looking at 5,084 right now.
So people's subjective attitudes can be much different than the underlying activity and fundamentals. But is that what you're getting at, or no?
But what I'm getting at is it's getting used a lot. I mean, there's a lot of activity.
I mean, we see it people use it every day, right? We know that.
So as that's growing, and the more that it gets in front of people and they get into places that it's getting used, I think the value's going to go up. Getting the higher and higher volumes is a good sign that despite the crash, because you keep seeing, articles, Bitcoin's dead, whatever. It's not. And exactly. So again, it's starting to get used, and that takes us into our grocery stores.
Got you. So, you've actually, our next story. So Alan was talking about, there was a report that since the December 2017 peak of Bitcoin, we've seen a 30% increase in economic activity. And they're defining economic activity as, I guess, number of outputs per transaction. And right now we're averaging around 3 outputs per transaction, which means in Bitcoin language, or I should say in regular language, 3 outputs per transaction means you could have 3 transactions in one transaction, right? You can kind of aggregate a bunch of different transactions into one transaction and send it to 3 different parties at the same time. And right now, that's what the Bitcoin network, each transaction seems to be going to 3 different people on average, right? So, and going off of that metric, there's been a 30% increase since the last peak of Bitcoin. So even at it, we're past its peak in terms of raw economic activity. Now, will investment sentiment pick up? That's always fickle, right? People buy for all or sell for all types of good and bad reasons. Go.
Well, and part of that, though, too, I think once Bitcoin stabilizes, like it was really attractive when we saw that crazy curve. It's like, I got to get in because it's going to be worth a lot more.
FOMO.
But I always thought that was kind of problematic because I'm more into this as a medium of exchange. Versus a store of value.
Everyone's got their use case.
So I want something that I know that my it's going to be close to the same value all the time versus, hey, my cup of coffee is now $70. That kind of thing is just so, again, different people looking at it in different ways. And when it becomes more stable, to me, it becomes more useful.
Do you hold a stable coin or some type of backed cryptocurrency?
No, I don't.
No. You just hold the good old USD, which I'm like that. I feel like my favorite stable coin is the USD. I don't need a crypto alternative. Exactly. Now, for people that do, that's fine. There might be people that are trading, can be highly useful, but I don't particularly have a use for
the only thing I would see that useful for,
coin.
again, is international money transfers and things like that.
Trading arbitrage, right? You want to move from one exchange to another. There's a price difference in Bitcoin there, right?
Yep.
Simple trading. Let's move on to the Coinstar story that caught your eye.
Yeah.
You have some experience with those machines.
Oh,
and can you explain for people that don't know what Coinstar is?
Well, anybody that's been close to broke before knows about Coinstar. So
I've been close to broke, but I've never used it.
When you save up all of your change, because change is useless.
I've done that before.
So you go to the grocery store and you dump the change in, and they give you a little ticket, and they take like a 20% cut. It's pretty hefty, but I mean, this goes back, I guess, 15 years ago. We had a spare change party out at the beach. So
wow, you were really broke.
Well, the whole concept was
spare change party.
Everybody brings their spare change, and we put it all in one big 5-gallon water bottle, and then realized it was too heavy to lift, so we separated it into 3 of them. But we ended up with close to $1,000 in people's spare change, and we used that to buy all the booze.
Was this in Ocean Beach?
Mission Beach.
Okay,
back when you could still drink on the beach.
It sounds like more of an Ocean Beach thing, or Ocean Beach is kind of a hippie enclave in San Diego.
Well, this is back when you used to be able to drink on the beach too, so that was pre-2008.
And then all the millennials were born, and we ruined everything basically.
Well, no, you never got the chance.
Well,
2008,
but
you weren't
our parents probably ruined it for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
But so, spare change.
Back to Coinstar.
Back to Coinstar. So that Coinstar was a very valuable tool for facilitating fun with what is essentially useless money. Now that useless money, you can go and use it to buy Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So by having 2,000 more outlets in grocery stores, as opposed to, hey, where can I find an obscure Bitcoin ATM to go buy? It's making it easier and easier and easier for people to
and not as scary and sketchy.
Yeah, like here's my jar of change from the past 2 years. There's probably a couple $100. Go down to Coinstar, get yourself some Bitcoin and start out.
And what we're talking about is an expansion of what Coinstar has already started. So in January 2019, they just instituted the Bitcoin, or being able to buy Bitcoin with this useless fiat change that people carry around. And they've expanded that program because they saw basically, I think the CEO quoted a metric of 15% month over month increase.
Yep.
Now, I'm not sure exactly what metric he was referring to, but all I care about is it was a positive metric in their eyes, and now they're expanding it, not contracting it.
Well,
right? So they're seeing demand for Bitcoin out there, and they're like, hey, let's roll it out to more stores.
Well, it seems like a very easy thing to do, and so the way that I'm expecting it to work is Coinstar would spit out a little receipt, with barcodes on it, and you'd go to the cash register, they'd scan that, and they would give you money. So I'm expecting them to spit out a QR code, and you would use your Edge wallet and sweep the funds. So it seems like a very, very nice, easy way to get people on board.
And a no-brainer for them. They get positive press. They get maybe their access to new markets, right? And they're doing exactly what they've always done, just with a new money.
Yep.
Right? For crazy people like us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really attractive story, and I'm stoked to see that, because the more that people are going to be able to get into crypto, it'll start becoming more and more used. So very positive. Well done, Coinstar.
Let's see. Any other interesting stories out there?
Well, I mean, Mickey Mouse is now going to own an exchange.
That's true. So, yeah, Al and I were reading a story earlier that Disney has been offered a substantial portion in a Bitcoin exchange kind of indirectly. So Bitstamp is a pretty well-known and reputable exchange in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency space, and apparently they're owned by a huge gaming company in South Korea, and Disney is interested in owning the gaming company, and if they, or at least hold a majority position or a sizable position in it, and that would indirectly give them ownership in Bitstamp and I think another Korean exchange, which would make Disney a part owner in cryptocurrency. It's a strange new world,
The mouse owns everything.
basically. And yeah, how much? Disney owns. They're a monster.
Disney owns Deadpool now. I mean, come on.
They own ESPN, ABC,
yeah.
all the other assets, and now they might be owning the cryptocurrency. Samsung invested in, or I guess infused a hardware company
Yep.
with some capital. So we got some, big players all over the world are entering this market in a lot of unique ways.
Well, Paul and I talked about Samsung was looking at getting into crypto at a couple months ago, and so now.
But was that from the mining angle?
No.
What was that story about?
It was looking at basically having their own wallet, and now
In the phone itself.
in the
right?
phone
Yeah,
itself. And so one of the things that the hardware wallet company Ledger that they just made the investment in, which I think now has Ledger valued at $290 million. The CEO of Ledger was saying, the hardware wallets aren't going to go away, but smartphones are going to play an integral part in the future, and that's really
That's definitely something we share.
well. Yeah, it was nice to have him see that our vision is correct. Edge Wallet.
Edge app. We're on the iTunes or on iOS and Android.
Yep. So that's further validation of what we're doing going down the road.
100%. So, in conclusion, the BitFinex Tether thing, it's been going on for years. I think it's a relative non-story given the amount of focus and histrionics around it. It is a big story in the sense that it's intriguing. You got drama, you got regulators, you got shady exchanges, you got shady stable coins. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, a new block is being created every 10 minutes, and that's what I care about. And then we got positive activity on the economic side of Bitcoin. More people are using the chain. More institutions are using the chain. And then we got big institutions that aren't crypto related getting into crypto. Coinstar, Disney, Samsung.
Nike.
I'd say I'm bullish. But that's nothing new. I've been bullish every day for, I don't know,
every
the
day
last
I've
10
known
years
you.
of my life. Yeah, exactly.
So-
Anyways.
So you're going to buy Nike's coin?
Yeah, and I'm going to pump the shit out of it. No. Any other stories? I think we covered it all the good ones.
Well, that was leading into the last thing. So Nike has filed a trademark application for crypto kicks.
Do you know anything about that?
Just from what it says here on the little quick news thing, crypto kicks, a community and electronic marketplace. So, you use.
So is Nike issuing their own cryptocurrency, or
it doesn't say, but I mean,
they just wanted the headline, the crypto. Someone
probably.
It sounds like a forced headline.
But hey, if you can buy your kicks with crypto,
That'd be sweet. I'd
you
do
know,
it.
I mean, if you think about the amount of money that somebody like Nike, if they're selling off of their website, the amount of money they probably lose in paying credit card merchant fees versus if it was a crypto purchase. I mean, that's where crypto can be really attractive to these larger companies and being able to take those payments, because now you're not giving that kick to MasterCard, Visa, Amex.
Visa and MasterCard basically sit in between everyone and collect 2 to 3%.
Yep. And more depending on if I'm using a particular rewards card, because the merchant is who's paying for those points. So
To you, this is a no-brainer.
yeah, I mean, if I was a massive company that I was losing 3%, and I could trim that to 1%.
Yeah. That's called being a good manager.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
If I'm a shareholder, I'm happy.
exactly. But so
But what do we know?
yeah.
We're just crypto weirdos. Anyways,
So Kylan, our producer over there, have we gotten any questions?
no one wants to ask any questions right now.
No questions for us.
I think
Well-
we just covered everything so thoroughly. There was no more questions to ask.
And this was really kind of a news thing. So one of the things for everybody out there watching who doesn't catch us live, if you have questions you want answered, contact our support team. If you're having issues, contact our support team. Our support guys are great. They'll respond to you very, very quickly. And if there's stuff you want to know that we can talk about on air, great.
Awesome. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, guys.
Enjoy your
Until
Friday.
next time, we'll see you next Friday.